second, when it's said that sooner or later pleasure must be offset by pain, what it means? It's on a verse 305 on the book here that I have.
The same genetic is.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we keep coming back to Wu-Sabat. It's about balance, yeah? And when what that's talking about is balance, meaning that you have a pendulum, right, that swings in that one direction or the other. Everything in this three-dimensional world has a middle point where you can go to the left or you can go to the right. We say agreeable, disagreeable, good and bad, pain and pleasure. So if you lean towards one side, eventually it's on balance. So you have to balance it out with the other side. So too much pleasure will ultimately bring about pain. Too much pain, if you go through a lot of pain and go through so much, eventually it will swing the other way to bring back balance, because things have to be in order. Order is the natural state that our ancestors created, what you're calling the universe, the planets, etc. They have laws that they have to abide by, and that law is one of those laws, because just like you have laws on the physical plane, you have laws on the other planes. So yeah, this is where Buddha would say desires will lead to suffering.
Is it possible to distinguish in a simple manner pleasure from joy?
Pleasure from joy. I think yes. So you can have joy where you're happy for others, and pleasure is generally more self-indulgence or for yourself. So when you're more selfish, or you're only like looking at, okay, even in say sexual intercourse or interaction with another party or being or whatever, like it's a mutual thing. You can't just be selfish and think about yourself. You
Yes.
get it? Because it's a connection and exchange of energy. So
Correct.
if you constantly draw and extract from one, that one is going to become, it's going to get depleted, right? So you can end up causing more damage because you're being selfish. So the way you hear this in the world is like, do unto others what you like to be done to yourself. The more you give, the more you receive. And some people they'll think like, that just sounds crazy. But these are what we call parables and riddles, or information that you you have to be able to understand what is being taught. So rather than write like a whole book to explain something very simple, a parable could be used that just makes sense. Like the master writes in the Patarak, the very first one, he says, if there are two of you and you wish to get milk from a cow, it is not wise to cut the cow in half. Do you get it?
Yes.
Why?
Because that's not how you get the milk.
Right. None of you are going to get milk. So if
Yes.
you're fighting over the cow and you decide, you know what?
You take the cow.
Yeah, let's cut it in half so you can have a half and I have a half. That's not right knowledge. That's not right mind. That's not right thinking. So rather than, and people will do that. I mean, there was one video that I saw where people, like we say, people are reacting off of emotion. So again, the balance is about being able to see things from a very logical, factual point of view. Just because you have emotions doesn't mean that you should let it be out of control. So there's a video I've seen, for example, where a female was so angry that her mate, her husband, her boyfriend, whatever, was cheating, that she cut off his genitals while he was sleeping. Now, that's kind of like the cow example. How does that make sense? Because she's so upset that he cheated or whatever, she don't want him to have no one else, and but at the same time, she's not gonna have him anymore anyway, because what she's done doesn't make any sense. And she was sitting there holding it, crying, and it's like reacting off of emotions instead of being balanced to always know that you need to be centered and not overindulge, because ultimately that's going to lead to suffering. Like, you can have a cake, let's say, using another example, enjoy the cake. Now, if you allow that to become a habit and the groove sets in your mind, and you start having that cake not once, not twice, it goes from maybe once a month to once a week to maybe 5 cakes a day. Eventually, all that sugar, all the problems that comes from that means that you've obviously indulged too much, and you're gonna have to swing back the other way and get the pain. You hear the gym people, like personal trainers, they say no gain without pain. So now you have to swing it to the other direction and put in the work and go through that pain of training to get rid of that to get rid of what you caused.